Salut Year 11 and welcome to your final night before news video. This one is on the foundation writing paper in French. This is your final French exam and it's worth 25%. You need to put your maximum effort into this exam because it's the final piece that's going to add up and make your overall grade. And you've done so well so far, so make sure that you know your opinions, past and future tenses for this exam. The great thing about the writing exam is that there are no tricks. The examiner just needs to see that you can use opinions, past tense, future tense and aim high phrases in French. I know that you can all do this. Madame Routley knows that you can all do this. You know that you can do this, but the examiner doesn't know you. They will just have that piece of paper put in front of them. So they need evidence that you have these skills and it's up to you to show them that evidence. If we have a look at the most harsh grade boundaries from 2019, we can see that you needed 43 marks out of 60 for a grade 5. However, to pass the exam, you need just over half marks, 35 out of 60. So if you make sure that you've learnt your opinions, past tenses and future tenses ready for tomorrow, you should be absolutely fine. As I always tell you, of course you need knowledge to be successful in your exams, but you also need to think very strategically. So the top tips for the writing exam, you've got choosing the essay that you know the most vocabulary for. So make sure you read the question carefully. On the foundation paper, they will give you a choice for question 2 and a choice for question 3. Don't end up answering every single question on the paper. Choose the essay that you think you can be the most successful at. Remember, the examiner doesn't know you, so don't show what you don't know. If you're not very strong on environment phrases and there's another question that's about school and you're really good at school, do that one. Show them what you're good at. You can memorize phrases at home, and as soon as you get into the exam, you can write a checklist at the top of the paper. Remember, you must revise the structure for describing a photo. That's question 1 on the foundation paper and it should be really easy marks. If you start with question 3, this would be a good idea because it's worth 20 marks. Remember, we want to definitely be getting 35 out of 60 to pass. So if you do well at question 3, you've got the bulk of your marks already. So spend a lot of time on that one. It's question 3 and it needs 3 things: past, opinion and future. If you break the translation down into grammar points rather than word by word, that will make it a little bit easier. So for example, when you're reading the sentences and they say something like, yesterday I went, in your head straight away you should be thinking, okay, the examiner's testing past tense here. Don't worry about, oh, I've never heard the word for went in French. Just think about past tense and then think, what verb would that be? By the way, je suis allé. That's how you say I went. Check for common mistakes at the end. So for example, your verb endings. When you're writing about yourself, most of the time it ends in E. Talking about me, just add E. If you're talking about your brother or your mum, a different person, again it ends in E. He or she, just add E. However, if you're talking about a group of people in the present tense, for example, they are eating, it's ils mangent with ENT at the end. So just check for things like this, for common mistakes. Make sure that you use opinions, past and future. What I always tell pupils for the foundation is question 1 has one important thing, it's opinions. Question 2 has 2 important things, opinions and future. Question 3 has 3 important things, opinions, past and future. When you're doing question 3, you have to show that you can use past tense and future tense, otherwise you won't access the best marks. And my final tip, use your speaking. If you memorised a lot of really good phrases for your speaking exam, put them into your writing exam because the same person will not be marking your speaking and your writing. I've said it before, But really the best preparation you can be doing at home now is learning a checklist of phrases in French that will definitely score you high marks. You can see two examples here from previous pupils. So the first one that's writing about the job in Paris, this is somebody who's very, very confident with grammar, and the way they've written their checklist is using grammar codes. I wouldn't advise this for everybody. This is for the type of student that grammar is their specialist subject, so they know what they're doing, they know what it looks like, they know how to include it. It's perfectly fine to do what the other student has done here, who's writing about the environment, and actually write out the phrases that you want to include. If you think this will limit your chance of making mistakes, then you should go for that option. I also like that that student has written next to each of the bullet points whether they're going to use opinions, past or future to answer the question. I will go through some phrases. Remember, you can pause this video at any time and write down your favourite ones, or the ones that are most memorable. Or you can skip this section of the video because you might already have a checklist in mind. So if it were me completing the foundation paper tomorrow, I would complete it in the following order because I would be thinking about strategy and marks. So I would go for question 3 first because it's worth 20 marks. I need to give that my all. I need to make sure that my past tense and future tense and opinions are all on point in that question because then it's easy for me to get those 20 marks. If I leave that and rush it at the end, I've lost such a huge amount of marks in my paper overall, 20 out of 60. I would then do question 2 because it's a 40 to 50 word letter or email. It's 16 marks, so it's still quite a lot, but it's only 10 words really per bullet point. So again, I want to make sure that I'm getting those marks and I don't want to just neglect this question and leave it to the end. Then I would do the picture description because that should be 12 easy peasy marks for you. This is something that we've been practicing since year 7. I think that you're going to be really good at it. Just make sure you revise the structure. That's coming up in this video. Before you actually do the exam. And I would leave the translation till last because with the translation, if you don't know a word, you're not going to learn that word in the course of the exam. You know, if it's a question about animals and the word pig comes up and you've never learned the word pig, you're not suddenly going to know the word for pig. So you just need to get to the end of the exam, do the translation, do it to the best of your ability, but all of your attention and all of your, magical phrases, opinions, aim high phrases, they need to be focused on question 3 and question 2. At the end of the exam, you should make sure you leave time to check, and you should really check that you've used accurate examples of opinions, past and future tenses. So you need to go through your essays and find them. Can I find an opinion? Can I find a past tense? Have I written je suis allé? Have I put a future tense? Have I put je vais manger? Make sure you've definitely done it, especially in question 3. And also see if you can count lots of examples of aim high phrases. So again, later in this video, there's some more examples, but things that we always say in class, like pour que je puisse, j'ai besoin de, make sure that you've used them, okay? Because you've learned them over all these years, and now is the time to show that you know them. Something that I've noticed on the foundation paper is that the number of the question can help you to remember what you need to include in that question. So for question 3, you've got 3 important things that you have to do: opinion, future and past. For question 2, you've got 2 important things: opinion and future, because in this question they normally have 3 kind of information bullet points and then 1 future bullet point. And for question 1, you've got 1 important thing, and it's opinion. Because even though it's a picture description, the question is going to ask you, and give your opinion on this. And a lot of students just forget to give their opinion. So if you remember this, 3 important things, 2 important things, 1 important thing, based on the question number, that should help you to make sure you include everything that's crucial in this exam. I've said it before, but really the best preparation you can be doing at home now is learning a checklist of phrases in French that will definitely score you high marks. You can see two examples here from previous pupils. So the first one that's writing about the job in Paris, this is somebody who's very, very confident with grammar, and the way they've written their checklist is using grammar codes. I wouldn't advise this for everybody. This is for the type of student that grammar is their specialist subject, so they know what they're doing, they know what it looks like, they know how to include it. It's perfectly fine to do what the other student has done here, who's writing about the environment, and actually write out the phrases that you want to include. If you think this will limit your chance of making mistakes, then you should go for that option. I also like that that student has written next to each of the bullet points whether they're going to use opinions, past or future, to answer the question. I will go through some phrases. Remember, you can pause this video at any time and write down your favourite ones, or the ones that are most memorable. Or you can skip this section of the video because you might already have a checklist in mind. If you're wanting to revise some phrases that I think would be good to put on the checklist, you can go to the writing practice section on Vocab Slam, and you can see there are phrases to do with writing an article, writing to friends, and grade 9 grammar. When you go on it, they look like translation activities. It's not the best format because even if you miss a capital letter or a comma, it might tell you that it's wrong, but at least you can go on it and practice some common phrases that would be good to include in your writing test. As previously mentioned, the best preparation you can do at home is learn a checklist of phrases in French, the ones that you know are going to score you high marks. Now, some of these must come from the basics anyway, because part of passing the test is showing that you can give opinions past and future. However, I've gathered here some more interesting opinions so that you're not just writing the same thing as everyone else or the same basics that we've been learning since year 7. So please pause the video here and write down any of these phrases that you particularly like, and you can learn them to add to your checklist. To make your writing more interesting, you can add little words like intensifiers, qualifiers, and frequency adverbs when you're giving opinions. Again, you can pause here and write down any of the ones that you particularly like. So, here are some common intensifiers, things like très or vraiment. These just make your writing a little bit more exciting. So instead of just saying it was good, you could say it was really good, it was quite good. Just makes things a bit more interesting for the examiner to read. You've got fillers and qualifiers like absolument, un peu, avec un peu de chance. Again, don't try to learn ones that you find really complicated. Just learn your favourite ones and make sure you use them in the test. And we've got frequency adverbs such as d'habitude, de temps en temps. I know a lot of you like that one. Parfois, quelquefois. When it comes to negatives, they always need to wrap around a verb, and it needs to be the first verb that you're using. So again, don't show what you don't know. If you don't feel confident with negatives, don't write them. Or look them up on BBC Bite Size tonight and learn how to use them, or learn one that you feel really confident about using. The examiners like it when your essay flows nicely and it reads like an exciting piece of writing and a logical piece of writing. So you can achieve this by linking your sentences together well, probably like you do in your English exam. So here are some phrases that help you link and tell a story properly. For example, like firstly, this happened, furthermore, on the one hand, on the other hand, overall, you know, when all's said and done, at the end of the day. These are nice little phrases that make your writing sound more polished.
In order to develop your answers for bullet point number 1 about description, remember the structure that we have been learning. What, where, action, emotion. The sentence starters for these are: Sur la photo il y a, je pense qu'ils sont, ils sont en train de, always followed by an infinitive verb, and ils ont l'air.
And if you've not yet learnt these phrases off by heart, Pause this video and spend some time practicing them now. Don't forget, when you're doing the picture description in the writing, you have to give your opinion on something. So if you read the question, it will say in French, write a description of the photo and give your opinion on this thing. Now, it's actually very easy because they tell you the exact thing they want you to give their opinion on. So if you just put an opinion phrase, j'adore, you can copy whatever word it asks you to give your opinion on. So imagine if I didn't know what les vacances meant, I could actually still get good marks by learning j'adore and then copying the phrase. Something that some pupils seem to get wrong as well, they write the phrase and they spell it wrong. If the examiners have given you the word les vacances, you just copy out the word exactly the same as how they've written it. The only thing that you change is you put an opinion at the front. So please, please, please do not forget to give your opinion in your writing test tomorrow when you're describing a picture.
In order to develop the opinion bullet points, don't forget about that really catchy song, the YMCA. We start with mentioning yourself, so give your opinion, then mention somebody else. For example, mais mon ami or ma mère m'a dit que, give somebody else's ideas. Then contrast, cependant, elle est folle, for example, and then add extra information, aussi. You could add an example of something you've done or give anything extra that you can. Have a look at the example below.
And remember, there are lots of phrases that you can add to make your vocabulary more interesting. These green phrases are aim high phrases that you will have learnt in class. You can add them at the start of an opinion sentence. For example, selon moi, according to me, cafes are really great. It just makes your opinions sound more interesting. These purple phrases are intensifiers. Words like very or quite or so or really or a little bit. Instead of just saying it's great, you could say it's really great, and this will get you higher marks. The phrases in red are more interesting words than just, for example, bon or fantastique. You want to try to use phrases that other students won't use, like sans ça, génial, formidable, or chouette. That one's quite old-fashioned, but it's very perfectly fine to use in your exam. Here are some negative ones. Nul, barbon, morne. Morne is one that not a lot of pupils will know. It means gloomy. Of course, you will need to be using past and future tense in your writing. In the foundation exam, it's essential that you use past and future for question 3. Remember, question 1, one important thing, opinion. Question 2, two important things, opinion and future. Question 3, three important things, past, opinion and future. So I'd just like to remind you of some of the past tense phrases that you've seen in class. All of these ones I'm pretty confident that you'll know. Even just using something like j'ai bu is really good on the foundation paper because it looks easy, but it's actually an irregular verb. Always give your opinion with c'était, because then if you make a mistake with the past tense, it still counts that you used past tense because you put c'était, it was. Now, do you remember my top tip from the speaking exam? It was to give a statement, for example, j'ai visité, give your opinion, and then use après avoir. So after having visited the Eiffel Tower or whatever you said you visited, and then you give another past tense. So for example, I could say, j'ai mangé une sandwich, c'était délicieuse. Après avoir mangé une sandwich, j'ai visité les monuments. Now suddenly I've got a full paragraph about what I did, and I've used the high level phrase after having eaten, after having visited, after having drank. That will look really good in your writing. For the future tense, we've got phrases such as je voudrais. Je voudrais, it's actually conditional tense, but I know that a lot of you know it really well and it will give you marks for future. So je voudrais with aller or manger, you can use je vais, il sera, it will be, on ira, we will go. Or you could try to use something a bit more complicated. For example, if I were rich, I would like, and then you could say to go, to visit. If I were rich, I would like to buy. That's a more high level phrase. Il serait, it would be. So again, you can pause here and make sure that you know some of these phrases off by heart. And then when you get into the exam, you write them at the top of your page like a checklist, and you make sure you use them, especially in question 3. And remember question 2, the important things, there's 2 important things, opinion and future. So you make sure that you know some future for question 2. By now you probably have some aim high phrases that you know really well. However, if you would like to memorize some more in the last few hours before your exam, I've just gathered some here that I think are really nice and ones that we've used in class before. So you can have a look at these and try to learn some extra ones. My advice would be only use them if you're confident using them. Don't try to force them into a sentence because you might mess up the grammar a little bit. It's as I always say, don't show what you don't know. I know that some pupils are nervous about not understanding the bullet points. However, if you look for the key words, normally you can figure out what they're trying to ask you. Just to go over some key question phrases though, remember that où means where. So, où tu vas habiter à l'avenir? Where are you going to live in the future? La région où tu habites, the region where you live. So West Sussex, you know, what's in your area. Où se trouve ton collège? Where is found your school? So where is your school, basically. So even if you don't understand like se trouve, you can look at où, where is your school, and answer the question. You've got quand, meaning when. Quand tu veux aller au centre sportif? When you want to go to the sports centre. So you need to say like on Saturdays or at the weekend. Quand tu vas arriver? When will you arrive? Quand tu vas arriver à l'hôtel? So it looks like that one's quite popular, like saying a date when you're going to arrive, or saying like in the evening or something like that. Pourquoi? Why? Pourquoi tu veux travailler en France? Why do you want to work in France? Pourquoi tu aimes cet hôtel? Why do you like this hotel? Pourquoi gagner de l'argent est important? Why is earning money important? It's quite popular for them to ask you like, why is something important? Pourquoi les passe-temps sont importants? Why are hobbies important? Passing the time, passe-temps, hobbies. It's rare, but occasionally they put in a comment question, which means how. So this one was a really strange one. Comment garder tes amis à l'avenir? How will you guard, how will you keep your friends in the future? A lot of people struggled with that one, but I think the trick is to still use the future tense and talk about the things, the activities that you would do with your friends in the future. So just a reminder of my top tips. Question 3 has 3 key things you need to do. Opinion, future, past. Question 2 has 2 key things, opinion and future. Question 1 has 1 key thing, opinion. If you remember it with the numbers, that should help you find it a little bit easier. With the translation, do what you can. If you struggle, it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. You need to put your energy into question 3 and then make sure that question 2 and question 1 are solid. If we have a look now at some question 3s, so here are some examples, a hobbies one and a work one. Just take a moment to figure out which bullet points are the opinions, which bullet points are the past, and which bullet points are the future. If you need time, pause the video because I am going to explain the answers now. So, it's quite easy to find the past tense because you just look for words such as dernière. So you know that this bullet point is prompting you to talk about hobbies that you did last week. Okay, so you've got to talk about past tense. So you answer it, j'ai joué, j'ai fait. You've got to make sure you get that in there. Future tense as well is quite easy because you're looking for prochain. So this is going to be look what you are going to do with your friends next weekend. This means that the final two bullet points are opinions. So you've got your favourite sport and you've got why hobbies are important. If we have a look at the work one, again the past tense is fairly easy to spot because you've got the past. So a small job that you did in the past, so it must be talking about a part-time job. The future tense, we can spot it because it's got tu vas. Remember, if it's in the song, je vais, tu vas, then it's going to be future tense. And that means the final two are opinions. So again, we've got the type of work that you prefer. Why is earning money important? If you want some extra practice, you can pause now and write these essays and send them to me to mark. So remember, with the writing exam, there are no tricks. The examiner is looking for evidence that you can give opinions, past tense and future tense in French, and if you add in some aim high phrases, you'll be sure to reach the top marks. When we're looking at marks, if we go by 2019, which was a bit of a harsher year, we can see that getting 43 marks out of 60 would have been a grade 5. This is achievable if you've done your prep and if when you go into the exam tomorrow, you're ready with a checklist to write down of all the key phrases you want to include. Read the questions carefully, choose a question which suits you that you've done a lot of revision for, and of course, don't show what you don't know. If you've got any further questions, please email me. Bonne chance, au revoir.